Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the NKU Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Josh Cobb, with my co-hosts, Brian Bauer and Noah Miller. We're here at Heritage Bank Center where the Cincinnati Cyclones play, and with us we have a special guest, the captain of the Cyclones, Justin Vaive. Justin, thanks for coming on with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'm just going to start off. I'll let you talk about yourself a lot on today's show. And so I just want to start off with where you're from, how's your hockey career started, just things like that.
I was born in Buffalo, New York, but I guess I call Toronto my hometown. That's where I grew up for the most part, which leads into kind of how I got into it. My dad actually played professional hockey for 15 years in the NHL, so we were kind of bounced around from city to city while he was playing, and then we settled in Toronto after we retired.
What was that experience like, having a parent who played professional sport?
It's cool. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of almost like forced me in a way into hockey.
Yeah.
Just because you're around it 24/7. I was going to the rink with him. I'm meeting his teammates. I'm going out after practice, skating around, shooting pucks and stuff. So it kind of just led me into the career I'm in today. But obviously, I wouldn't change that for anything.
That's cool. And so, would you say that your hockey career kind of got started at that young age, or like when did you first start playing or fall in love with the game?
I guess to an extent. I started skating when I was 3, so at a young age, yeah, he'd bring me out after practice or when there was open ice and stuff. But I actually didn't start playing in a league till I was like about 7, 8, which sounds still young, but
Yeah.
For like most Canadians, they're in leagues at 5, 6 years old. So I did take a few extra years before I got into it, but it definitely kind of fired up the passion for me for hockey.
That's neat. Go ahead.
Yeah, so since you're the captain of the team, what does it take to compete at such a high level and continue to win and bring a championship to Cincinnati?
I guess the biggest thing I harp on and the hardest thing to learn as a pro athlete is consistency. You watch sports, a random guy will kind of pop on the screen that you never really heard of that has, an unbelievable game or makes an unbelievable play. But it's being able to do that at a consistent basis that kind of brings you to that elite level. And I tell every young guy that comes in too is that, you can have your best game and it's great, but the drop off to your, when you're not feeling it or not having the best night can't be that big. It's got to be kind of a level where you have some upticks, but never go kind of downwards is my biggest message.
Yeah, you spent some time with the Cyclones early in your career, and then you bounced around from teams to teams. You played for the Comets. Which team has a special place in your heart, and what made you want to come back?
Other than Cincinnati, the easy answer would be Fort Wayne because we won the championship there. So that's something, that you'll live with for the rest of your life, kind of a bond you can share with some of the guys on the team. But I think Hartford, actually, when I was there, they're affiliated with the Rangers. Kind of, I guess, kick-started my career after my first couple years. It kind of resurged me a little bit because I got a good opportunity there and I was playing with some good players, and I kind of proved to myself that I could do it at a higher league. And confidence-wise, I think that kind of really helped me throughout what now is my 12th season.
Yeah, and congratulations, by the way. You just had your 300th pro point.
Yeah, legend, the Cyclones legend.
Yes. Along with Louis just got his 400th point not that long ago, shortly right after you. Did you ever think you'd get to this point at scoring 300 points?
I should say yes. That would be the confident thing, but no, not at all. I mean, you go into your first year after college and all you hear is stories from a million different perspectives of, oh, that guy was so good, but he never made it, or I don't know what happened to this guy or that guy, or injuries. And, I'm just really fortunate now, sitting at my 12th year and, being healthy and playing and contributing. I don't take it for granted at all, and it's just kind of a day-by-day experience.
Okay, I have kind of an interesting question here. Obviously, hockey was a part of your life from the beginning because of your dad playing. But is there another sport that you just really like, or would even consider playing early on if it wasn't for hockey?
My other kind of, love growing up was baseball. I pitched in baseball, and I there was times growing up where I kind of teetered between kind of focusing on one or the other. I mean, I'm a big advocate when kids are young that they should never play just one sport.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know it's become a huge thing now, is just to like focus and try to master that sport, but the burnout, it's a real thing. Like, I know parents don't really see it, or they kind of live vicariously through their kids, and they want their kids.
Happens a lot.
Yes, exactly. But like growing up, I played 4 sports a year. Every season throughout the year was a different sport, and I think in the end, all benefited me from a social aspect, but also, you know, I wasn't burnt out at 15 from doing the same thing every single day. So I'd probably say baseball when I was younger. Now it's strictly golf in the off season.
And playing other sports, would you say that also helped, like, developing different skills and athleticism too?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like baseball, you have the hand-eye aspect of, you know, when you have to hit. Other sports, when there's running or there's jumping, I mean, all that athletic ability kind of fits in with hockey. It's a weird sport where you kind of need everything. You need to be good at basically all types of athletic abilities and kind of put them together. So I always tell parents, even here, like that, should my kid be skating this much or this? I'm like, they should be playing baseball or golf or into other sports at that age. I mean, obviously it comes a point where, whether that's high school or, you know, into college, where you kind of have to specialize and focus on one sport. But up until that point, I encourage them to kind of play anything they want.
And I'm sure you could credit playing different sports to kind of your success today, because you didn't get burnt out. I mean, you're still going today, going strong, having great games. So that obviously has to have some credit to your success.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I said, I was like going into college, it was like, oh, I just played baseball last summer. Like, I played all the way up through. So it was like kind of a new experience for me, being able to focus on one sport and one sport only, which kind of made it fun to an extent.
So once you kind of knew that, okay, this is it, my hockey career is going to go off in the draft process. So we don't get to hear a lot about the draft process from a lot of athletes. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, hockey is unique in the draft process to the extent that they hold your rights for an extended period of time. So baseball, you get drafted. If you don't go that year, you go back into the draft. NFL, basketball, you have to declare for the draft. And once you declare, you can't go back to college. Hockey, everybody at 18 is eligible, no matter where you play in the world, no matter what league, anything.
Interesting.
Everybody's eligible. And once you're drafted at 18, if you go to college, they own your rights for all 4 years of your college. So you can turn pro at any year, but they keep your rights. And then if you go and play major junior or in Europe or any of that, it's 2 years. They hold your rights, and then you can re-enter as a 20-year-old.
So what was your experience like with that? I mean, did you have a lot of college in hockey involved in that?
Yeah, I started visiting colleges. I ended up at Miami University, but I went on several visits, and kind of leading up to the draft, I was a weird anomaly, because I was growing a lot. I was kind of an awkward 17-year-old kid, and it's a gamble, obviously, to take on a kid that age. So I was anywhere from in the second round to not being drafted. And there's 7 rounds, so it was a pretty big range there.
For sure.
I ended up not going to the draft in person, which, looking back, I regret. It was in Columbus too, so it would have been a cool spot to go, and it's close now to where I'm at. But I was just at home with my family, and we were just normal Saturday, didn't think anything of it. And then our house phone rang, and it was the GM of the Anaheim Ducks. And
it's a good phone call.
Yeah, my dad answered, and my dad knew him from his playing career, and he's like, "Oh, is your son there?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, what's? Oh, we just drafted him in the 3rd round. And I was like, "Oh, wow!" Like, all right, like this is really happening. So
I can't imagine like at that age.
Yeah, like I was kind of looking at it, and I had a lot of friends too that were getting drafted in the higher rounds and stuff. So I was keeping an eye on it, but at the same time, it was just, normal Saturday. I was eating lunch, about to go hang out with friends in the summer, and that call kind of obviously changed my life for the better.
It's unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
Yeah. what would, in your opinion, because a lot of players, depending on the player, this answer is going to vary. What would be the best thing about hockey, in your opinion?
Ooh, that is a good question. For me, I guess this is a biased answer because obviously I can't speak to other sports and the relationships and all that stuff. But for me, it's one sport that it just sticks out, where kind of the brotherhood that you build with the guys on the team and stuff, it carries over like no other sport that I've witnessed. I mean, I've played with guys 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and after the game last night, my phone is blowing up with texts and messages from guys I haven't heard of or from in a decade, all congratulating me on the record and stuff. And it's something that seems very rare in other sports for guys that keep that kind of bond or reach out when those things happen. And so it's like guys come and go, but at the same time, I keep in contact with almost everybody that I've played with in some way, shape, or form.
As the captain of a team, what are some of the roles and responsibilities? Because some of us know that, like, play high school sports know that, but it's not as serious as being a captain for the Cincinnati Cyclones.
Yeah.
So what are some of the responsibilities you take on in that role?
I'd say the biggest thing is just the accountability of it all, which I guess depending on how your team's doing, it could be seen as a great thing or a negative thing. Because when teams are losing or struggling, the first person they're going to talk to is me.
Yeah.
But if you're winning and you're doing well, you're also the first person that's being congratulated. So I think that is a big thing, just to be accountable regardless of what's happening on the ice. But other than that, it's, pointing things out to the younger guys, kind of especially in this league, is teaching guys how to be a pro, which sounds kind of weird or cliche, but I mean, we're getting 19, 20, 21-year-old kids.
And you were in that position.
Yes, exactly. And I've went through it. I know what it feels like. You go to college where you're kind of catered through the whole process. You have advisors, you have people looking out for you every step of the way. And then all of a sudden, you turn pro and they're like, all right, see ya. Like, have at it. Yeah. There's nobody looking over your shoulder. There's nobody cooking your meals. You don't have a dining card swipe that you can go and just get meals. So it's just teaching guys how to be a pro and how to act like a pro, and just kind of realizing it's your job now. I mean, in every other facet of life, if you're going to a job every day and you're not performing up to your capabilities, you're not going to have that job that long. So it's kind of teaching people that, you're being paid to do something, and if you're not doing it, they will find people, unfortunately, that will do it or do it better.
It's just like a coach or a GM. You're not
exactly.
You're not producing a good team. There's going to be consequences.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is the biggest wake-up call I see in professional sports, is going from college where they wine and dined you. They got you to come to their school. You're kind of their prized possession, to where you turn pro, and now it's almost, in a sense, kind of like a meat market. Like, if you're not living up to your contract or producing the way you're supposed to, you better find some way to contribute, or they're going to go out and find somebody that can.
Yeah, I feel like that's all. People don't really think of that as the same thing, because they think of their job as just your average paying job, but then y'all are actually, this is your job. I mean, it's not just, you're doing what you love, but it is a job at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny when you bring that up to people. It's like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm, an accountant. Well, if you're not bringing in new accounts, or you're messing up the books, or you're getting all these people audited for bad paperwork on your half, it's like, you're not going to have that job that long. And it's the same thing for us. It just doesn't feel like it to the average person, because you're coming to watch a sports game. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the people behind kind of the masks or the helmets are still being paid for their product on the ice.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they kind of view it as like entertainment, but for you, it's not entertainment. This is my career,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of a skewed viewpoint.
Yeah, well, and seeing how short or how long careers can be, especially in contact sports with injuries and all that, it's hard not to take it for granted. But I'm getting to that point now where, I'm just thankful to still be doing what I love to do.
With hockey being such a contact sport, and fighting is a big part of it, and it draws a ton of fans.
I love it.
Yeah, we all love it.
Do you practice the fighting skills, or do you just go with it with your street
That's a great
skills?
question.
Interesting question.
Yeah, I would say 99% of players in the league do not ever practice anything about it. That 1% either enjoys doing it, which is rare, or they know they have to do it. They fit that kind of mold, or they play that aggressive style where a fight kind of just finds you rather than you going to look for the fight. So some guys will kind of spar or work on certain things after practice, but for the most part, it's kind of, unfortunately, learning through experience. And sometimes the experience is not that good or that fun, but over time you kind of get used to it and kind of learn some things to use while you're doing it.
So do you is that something you don't agree with? Like, you don't like fighting, and obviously no one likes fighting, but is it something that you just know comes with taking the chance, or is it
I'm of the old school perspective where I think it's like, I advocate for staying in the game. I agree. Yeah. I think it's a huge part of what makes hockey. I know with the injuries and all the concussion studies and all that coming out, obviously I see all that, and I think there's ways to limit how much it happened. Like, even from my first year to now, it is cut, honestly, probably 80% down from what it was. But I think people love hockey because it's the only game or sport where you can police it yourself. Yeah. In other sports, somebody takes a cheap shot or somebody does something that you don't agree with, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, you can try and hit them the next play in football or in basketball, get them the next, but there's nothing you can ultimately do to stop them from doing it again.
Exactly.
Whereas in hockey, if a guy takes a cheap shot or something like that, there's retribution that can be paid immediately. And I know it's a kind of old school thinking and a lot of people don't agree with it, but I think there is a place for it for sure.
And I mean, I'm going to be completely honest here. I wasn't the biggest hockey fan for the longest time, but I really learned to like it over the years for many reasons. And I know this might sound bad, but I enjoy seeing the tension in the middle of the game and what comes from it. So,
and especially down here in Cincinnati, obviously, like you said, a lot of people either haven't watched hockey or been to a game. And especially people with younger kids and stuff, I'm like, you bring them to a game, it is the one sport you can place them down and they will not be distracted at all, because there's always something
That's
happening.
True, yeah.
Whether it's shots, hits, there's people changing, there's fights, there's always something going on. And I think that's one thing that is the fascinating part about hockey, is how, like you said, the tensions get so high and eventually sometimes they boil over and there are fights and big scrums going on and brawls and all that. So it's kind of cool to see how all that builds.
Yeah, and I was here for the Thanksgiving Eve game, and it was packed. I've been to many Cyclones games, and that game was the first game that they actually had people up in the upper sections. Does Cincinnati have the best fan base for the teams that you've been with, or close to? It's
definitely up there, and one of the main reasons why I love playing here so much, because when you get out there and you see 13,000 screaming fans, it's it definitely gives you some chills when you're skating around. So that they're definitely up there, and from a market from the last 10, 12 years, it's only gone up too. I think if you look over the last 11 years, they've steadily increased attendance. So, I mean, I'm just excited for, how far it can keep going.
And speaking of Cincinnati and the fans, we see with the Bengals and the Reds just how the fans can be and how many diehards there are. So, as far as the other sports in Cincinnati, do you enjoy having other teams and professional teams in the same city? Or do you like it more kind of where there's more of a focus on your team?
I think it goes back to how the team's performing, to kind of tie in with that, because a city like Fort Wayne, for example, when I was there, you're the only kind of show in town. Yeah. So if you're winning, you're the only show in town, so everybody loves you. But if you're losing, again, you're the only show in town.
Either way.
Everything's negative. There's media everywhere, and it's just negative, negative, negative. We got to change this. You got to get rid of that guy or whatever. So I think when it comes to Cincy, there's times where we are having great years or whatever, and unfortunately we don't get as much press or kind of buzz as you would in a smaller market. But at the same time, I love the market. I love having all the teams here. I love being able to go watch other sporting events and stuff like that. And I've met guys on both teams, fellow Canadians too, that have been down here, where it's kind of cool to talk to other guys in other sports and kind of pick their brain.
Speaking of that, said you were born in Buffalo, now you're here. So are you a Bills or a Bengals? Who would you choose?
Big Bills fan.
Okay, yeah.
No,
so you're part of the Bills Mafia.
Yes, there is no wavering in that loyalty, unfortunately.
So have you dove on any tables like that?
I have not, no. That's one thing I've stayed away from just in case there's some injuries that go with it.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
So you've been kind of a happy fan lately?
Yes, the last 4 or 5 years have been so far so good.
Yeah, so we had Jason Payne on the show, but it was via Zoom, and I asked him the same question, and I'm going to ask you the same question. The Cincinnati, they have a lot of different style jerseys, and you were just had a bobblehead with the Superman jersey on. Which jersey is your favorite to wear?
That we've worn.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, any year.
Wow, that is good.
Because personally, my favorite scene was the Skyline Chili ones.
Those are actually really cool. I actually got one made for myself. It's at my house, and eventually at some point I'll get it framed up on the wall because, well, one, I do love Skyline, but two, I did really like that. I actually think all the kind of the name change games have been unbelievable. Going back, my first bobblehead actually was when we were the Beast, and it was like the roller coaster with the logo.
Cool.
Yeah, so those ones were really cool. The Coney ones have been cool. We were the Flying Pigs one year. Like that was interesting. I think this year it's like the Hippos for the new baby.
Yeah.
So I think that will be a big draw too. So I would probably say the Coney or the Beast are up there for my two.
I'm glad you said that you love Skyline Chili. I'm glad. Because some people we ask that aren't from around here but like live here or are here say, I'm not a big fan.
It's a tough sell in the locker room, I'm not going to lie.
Really?
I've been trying my absolute best to get guys to at least give it a chance. Because I can't sit up here and lie either. It took me years to try it when I got here. Because I was just like, I don't know if that's me. And then I tried it once, and now it's a staple for me.
It's so good.
Yeah, that'll happen to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just getting them to try it is the hardest part, and once they do, then they're good to go.
Mentioning the locker room, I'll kind of go back to that away from Skyline Chili for a second. But what is the atmosphere like on game days or even just practices, or what's the atmosphere like in general in the locker room?
I would say light is the easiest word to describe it, and especially the way I am and the way I like kind of a room to feel and everything like that. There's already enough pressure on guys. There's people coming, there's scouts coming to watch, family, there's crowds. You have to perform on the ice. Like, there's already enough outside pressure on guys where I don't want them to come into the room and be sitting there, sweating, overthinking things, gripping their stick.
Nervous
It's just, there's already enough on these guys where I want it to be light. There's jokes flying around, guys, kind of jarring back and forth, giving it to each other about whatever it is, people talking about God knows what. But that is the way I like it, because if you can get in there and be light, but also have a team that can kind of turn it on, as soon as we walk out of the tunnel there, that's kind of my mentality, is where all that is left behind, and now we're out there for business and work. And so far this year, we have a great group of guys that have been able to kind of balance that light, joking mood, but turn it on and be dialed in on the ice.
I'll let one of the guys ask a question since I've been asking a lot.
So we ended the last interview with Jason asking, what do you have to tell the fans that are looking for success with this team? And you all started off to a hot start, and you're continuing it right on, game after game. What would be your message to the fans? Because Jason said that there's a lot of unfinished business to be done.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at our last 3 or 4 years, we've had very competitive teams. The one year we won the regular season title, and I think that almost makes it harder going into the next year when you get those accolades, or you win a division or a conference, but you don't win the ultimate prize. And so I think my message would be, for however frustrated or hungry the fans are for a championship, every single guy in that room feels this same way, and probably double it, because not only did we go through the same thing, we also played through the same thing and had our season cut short. So I think that's the biggest message.
And is there any shot that you get 400 points?
I mean, we'll see how long I keep going, and hopefully I stay producing.
Speaking of that, how long, we see, obviously, this is insane that Tom Brady's still going at 45, but what's kind of like, or is there an age you're kind of shooting for, or a time of your life where you're kind of shooting for as far as your hockey career?
Honestly, I've kind of like the Brady thing, I guess. The goalposts keep moving. At first, I was like, I'll play my rookie kind of contract out, my 3 years, see where I'm at. Then I go to a couple new teams, get moved up, different opportunities come. All right, I'll go back to Cincy and kind of see how it is now. We have a great team. We win the league. Okay, I'll play another. And now I'm kind of like, I'm still producing, still having fun. I mean, I guess in my head, 35 was always kind of the age where I said would be a cool kind of age to shoot for, but I can't make a promise that if I'm sitting here in 2 years feeling like I do right now, that I would be ready to kind of walk away from it. It's a weird feeling, you do something for basically your whole life, but as a job since you're 20 years old, it's kind of all you know. So in the off season, you're kind of sitting there like, well, if I'm not going to go to camp in October, what else am I going to do?
Yeah, I mean, you eat, sleep, and drink hockey. Athletes eat, sleep, and drink the sports that they play. It's all they know.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly, and that's also the scary part, because that's all you know.
Yeah.
So it's like one day, you will wake up and it will be over, and you can look back on however long your career was, and hopefully, kind of hang your hat on that. But it's also scary in the sense where that's all I've done, and from a professional kind of life standpoint, it's good for guys, and I encourage guys, go back if they don't have their degrees to get that, or to take internships in the summer in other fields other than hockey, because everybody at some point will retire. So it's good to have some sort of plan of what you want to do or where you want to go afterwards.
So you just scored your 300th point. Your goals and assists are really kind of even, close and close. Does goals mean more to you than assists? Since you're the captain, captains are supposed to be held at a higher standard and kind of like the team player. And some players, they want goals more, but...
That's a good question. I mean, for me, no. I guess if I can contribute in any way, whether, it's a first assist, second assist, a goal, whatever it is, if it helps us win, I guess at the end of the day, I'm fine with it. I guess for different players, the question would kind of weigh more. I don't think I'm seen as like a goal scorer or a playmaker, but there are guys that, your job, you're a goal scorer, you're a shooter. So for those guys, if they're not scoring, then it might be a little harder for them to kind of stay focused and not get on themselves and stuff like that. And then there's other guys where they might not shoot the puck a lot, so they're supposed to be making those plays and beating their guy and then finding the open man and getting those assists. So it can kind of go either way, but for me, it's just, I play kind of a weird game, I guess, being a big guy and a physical guy, but also playing a big role offensively is kind of, I guess, a mix of several different roles. So I just kind of contribute any way I can.
All right, so I know you're in the middle of the season, so these days are kind of busy for you. So I just want to wrap it up by letting each guy ask a question. So I'll let you ask the last question, Brian.
Oh no, you can go. I gotta think of one.
Okay.
I got a ton written down. But
I can ask.
You go ahead.
So what would you say was the hardest team, or the team that always seems to give you guys the most trouble playing against, or just like the most fun to play against?
I think over the last few years, probably Toledo has become a fun game no matter at what point of the season it is. I mean, obviously we played them in playoffs twice, which always adds to the kind of animosity of it. But I think for the last 4 years, we've been kind of the top 2 in the division consistently. So just when you look at that, you know it's always going to be a big game kind of going into it.
Yeah. So this isn't really hockey related, but
All right.
but in Cincinnati, what is in your free time? What is your favorite thing to do?
Ooh. In the summer, I mean, other than golf, that is definitely up there. I think I've played almost all the public courses around the
You have a
tri-state.
favorite?
Probably Stone Lick is my favorite.
Okay.
But I guess over the, my career here is just kind of finding new places, bars, restaurants, whatever it is, and exploring. I've just, we're so sheltered to our routine where it's apartment to the rink to, picking up lunch to going home, back to the rink, where we don't really actually get to be a normal kind of person and go out and explore and go to different places for dinner and meet up with friends and all that. So now that I live here full time in the summers and stuff, it's definitely been cool just to kind of see how much Cincinnati actually has to offer away from just down here in the sporting events.
So would you rather start a fight or back up one of your teammates in a fight?
Send those fight questions, man.
Yeah.
Probably the backup the teammate. I mean, there's always times where somebody starts it for whatever reason, but I think overall, just kind of having your teammates back and, showing that to the whole team, I think that goes a lot further in the locker room, because the next time it happens and you're not on the ice, or it's you that gets hit and somebody jumps in for you, I feel like it's kind of like almost just like a disease where it goes through, it gets into everybody, where like, well, that guy had my back, so I'm going to have his back. And then before you know it, you have such a tight bond with everybody that it carries over throughout the season.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. We're kind of hitting your time limit. We'll let you get back to
No problem.
your. But we thank you for coming on with us. It's not every day you get to have the captain of a professional team. So
Thanks for having me. I had a blast.
Yep. We hope everyone enjoyed it, but we're not done for today. We still have the play-by-play man, Andrew Mossbrooks, on next on the NKU Sports Talk Show.